you settled in? Alright, so once upon a time there was a knight. They were the bravest knight in the entire kingdom, and they had a horse who was the strongest and fastest. Together, the knight and their horse would ride around the country serving the people. One day, news came of a dragon that was taking the livestock of a local village, so the knight and their horse rode out to the village. Yes, as knights do. Shh, you are not doing good at this listening thing. Now, the villagers were glad to see the knight because they were not knights and also didn't really have any swords and stuff. The knight asked the villagers where the dragon might be. Up at the top of the mountain, said one villager. Down in the abandoned mines, said another. Right there, cried a third, and they were right. The dragon swooped down, its claws nearly taking out a few villagers right there. It roared, and the trees shook under the beats of its mighty wings. The dragon then swooped down once more, and the villagers screamed all ah and ducked. But the dragon only let out a chuckle like the sound of an avalanche beginning, and soared back into the air and off towards the forest between the village and the mountains. The knight did not waste a moment, hence being the bravest. Yeah, I know, I'm good at stories. Now be quiet, I'm telling a story. So the knight's horse sprinted down the small trails as the knight kept the dragon in their sights. Not that it was too hard, considering how large dragons were. They rode far and were forced to enter the forest to keep following the dragon. Eventually, the boughs of the trees became too thick for the knight or their horse to see through to the dragon, and they were forced to slow their pace to keep an ear out for the sounds of a dragon. The forest, though, was silent. Too silent. Yeah, well, it's quieter than you. Be like the forest. Be quiet. Anyway, the knight dismounted their horse, drawing their blade, and they both crept forward along the forest path. But the only thing they could hear was the sound of their own breaths and footsteps, even as careful as they were to be quiet. The knight heard the sound of water up ahead, so they went in that direction. There was a person by the babbling brook as they drew near. They wore plain clothes and knelt by the brook, drinking water from their cupped palms. The knight lowered their sword, but did not put it away. They left their horse behind the tree line out of sight. The knight entered the small clearing, watching to see what the person would do. They did nothing. The knight drew close to the brook a few feet away from the person, and still they did nothing. The knight knelt by the water, dipping the hand in that wasn't holding the sword. Guess it'd be kind of dumb to put your sword in the river. Anyway, their reflection distorted slightly from the ripples they created in the water. They glanced at the reflection of the person, but in the water they saw the head of the dragon instead. The knight whirled around, sword at the ready, but there was no dragon in the sky, only the person beside them. They looked at the person, and the person looked at them. It was kind of awkward. The knight, who was very brave, asked the person, Hey, have you seen a dragon around here? No, said the person. Are you the dragon? The knight then asked, because they were also smart in addition to being brave, and liked to think that since they saw the dragon in the water, and the dragon was not a fish, and it was not in the sky, then there were very few other possibilities. Yeah, I know, like I said, smart and brave. Are you the knight who would slay the dragon? The person asked instead of answering, which was an answer in and of itself because everyone knows that dragons love to answer questions with questions because they enjoy being unhelpful. They thought about their answer for a long what you do instead. Ask the dragon not to terrorize the people of the village, said the knight, and to not steal the livestock either. What else is there for a dragon to do? To eat, said the person, and the knight did not raise their sword, even as the person approached, because the knight, while a good fighter, did not like to fight if there was an easier thing to do, like not fight. I don't know. Perhaps the dragon could give the villagers rides to travel places and sell wares, said the knight. Perhaps the dragon could do that in exchange for food made by the people. I cannot say, because I am a knight, not a dragon, and I do not know what may satisfy a dragon. Why should a dragon work for people, asked the person, which, is a pretty good point. More food and undisturbed sleep, less screaming and swords, said the knight, which was also a pretty good point. If I see a dragon, or am one myself, I shall put that thought in the dragon's head, said the person. The knight bowed, not deeply nor with any real ceremony, but honest enough that a dragon wouldn't be insulted. Thank you. Then I suppose the answer to your first question would be a no. No, indeed, said the person as the knight went back to their horse, who had watched the interaction and neighed softly. Their horse was pretty brave and smart too, you see, and agreed that the dragon ought to get a job. Horses are good judges on career goals. There was nothing left to be done, so the knight and their horse went back to the village and spent the next few days there. The dragon did not come to terrorize the village. There were no sounds of beating wing with the power of a hurricane, no heat of a dragon's fire warming up the sky. It was quiet, too quiet. Yes, like the forest, but not like you. Shh, you're supposed to be falling asleep. But then there was a ripple through the crowd one day, as the knight and their horse walked through. A stranger had come to town, offering a deal. The dragon had sent word about a trade of service for food and wealth for its horde. The knight was not part of the discussions or bartering, since they were a knight and not really much of a business person, but it sounded like it was going well. And a few days later, the knight was getting on their horse, about to ride out of the village, their work done, when they looked back over the village people, and in the crowds they saw the person from the brook in the forest looking at them. The knight bowed once again, as best they could from the top of a horse, and then the knight and their horse left the village to go on another adventure. The end. Are you asleep? No, you sound asleep. Did you like my story? Yeah, I know, no fights, but I'm trying to get you to relax. Fighting isn't really relaxing. Trade negotiations put tons of people to sleep. Oh, thank you. I thought it was a neat plot twist too. Yeah, well, maybe I'll tell you another bedtime story another night. No, I'll tell you a story